Welcome back, Tacticals, and boy, do we have a delicious meal to dig in today. On Sunday, Man United heaped more pain on the bald head of Liverpool manager Arne Slot. This 2-1 defeat is Liverpool's fourth in a row in all competitions, and I'm not gonna lie, it's looking absolutely peak for the Reds. Well, enough of the waffle. I went back and combed through this whole game to see how both managers set up, and I think I have figured out how Ruben Amorim countered everything Arne Slot threw at him. Anyways, let's get right into it. So from the start of the game, it was very clear what Ruben Amorim was trying to do. So typically, Ruben Amorim sets up with a 3-4-3 formation and he pushes his wing backs as high as possible with the two inside forwards going inside the pitch, playing very close to the main striker as number 10s. So in this game, as you can see from this screenshot, Ruben Amorim finally listened to all his detractors who have been telling him, change your formation, it's not working, United need to try something different. Well, in this match, he definitely tried something different. So United played with a 4-4-2 when they were in possession and a 5-3-2 when they were out of possession. So as we can see from this screenshot, when United pushed inside the Liverpool half, United played with a midfield pivot of both Bruno and Casemiro in the middle, with Mason Mount and Ahmad keeping the width out wide. This was actually a genius setup from Amorim because Liverpool played a midfield 3. They dropped Florian Wirtz and then they played McAllister, Szoboszlai and Gravenberch in the middle. And then with an aggressive man-marking press as we can see in this situation, Liverpool could not play through them in the middle. And this is exactly how the first goal came about as we can see on the screen. Man United won the ball back by pressing aggressively in the middle. Bruno plays the ball out to Ahmad out wide, and with Mbeumo playing as part of a front two with Matheus Cunha, it took just one run in behind to finish Van Dijk and Konate. As you can see here, this is terrible defending from Virgil van Dijk. He could see Mbeumo when he started his run as we can see here, but the moment Mbeumo changed the direction of his run and went behind him, Van Dijk passed on to Konate and for some reason they both forgot he was there and he just ran between them to score past Mamadashvili. This was a terrible error, but the way United set up in the first place is the reason why they even got that chance. Another thing I found very interesting as we can see from this screen grab is that when United countered, instead of both wing backs going forward to provide the width as they usually do, it was Ahmad who broke out from the back 5 on the right hand side into the midfield 4, but Dalot stayed back to mark Mohamed Salah. And on the left, as we can see here, it was Mason Mount who provided the width. And because Salah typically doesn't track back, Mount was always one-on-one with Bradley, who had been left out to die on that right back slot. The way United defended in this game was also very impressive. So as we can see here from this different situation, when Liverpool entered into their half, Ahmad dropped from the midfield into the back line, making it a back 5. Then Mason Mount came inwards into the central midfield to help Bruno and Casemiro, with Cunha and Mbeumo in front of them as you can see here. This made it very difficult for Liverpool to play through them in the midfield, and they had to start pushing Bradley and Kerkez very high to start creating some chances from the wings. Another situation I really noticed in these screenshots we see here, because of this space that had been left in behind from the fullbacks going very high, I saw the United keeper Lamens. He wasn't afraid to play long balls to the wings when under pressure, trying to exploit the space the two fullbacks had left behind them. Unfortunately, this didn't work as intended because they didn't score a goal from these situations. But I saw Chelsea do something very similar against Liverpool when they beat them 2-1 at Stamford Bridge before the international break. Gusto and Cucurella, as we can see here, went very high and very wide, and they created a few chances or a lot of chances from doing this tactic over and over again. So I actually understand what they were trying to do here. Overall, it was a very excellent setup from Ruben Amorim and United in this first half, and they deservedly had the lead at halftime. At the start of the second half, Liverpool tried something different to counter United's 5-3-2 low block formation, and they did this by pushing Bradley and Kerkez beyond the front line. They started making runs as we can see in these screen grabs, creating a lot of overloads in the wing areas. So the result of this, as we can see from this screenshot, is that United's backline ended up dropping a few meters deeper, and this released a bit of space in the midfield for Szoboszlai and McAllister to work with. Amorim intelligently countered this by taking Ahmad off and bringing on Patrick Dorgu, also because Casemiro had gotten injured, and he ended up putting Dalot back in his natural right wing back position instead of on the left. So this natural width they now have, as you can see on the screen, it countered the runs in behind from Kerkez and Bradley, with Mason Mount and Bruno now tracking the runs of the fullbacks in behind. In the 60th minute though, Arne Slot made a very smart tactical change and he totally regained control of the game for Liverpool. So if anyone here plays football video games, what is the easiest way to counter an opponent who is just sitting back, defending and counter-attacking? Yeah, that's right. All-out attack. So Gravenberch unfortunately had to go off with an injury. And instead of bringing on Endo as a natural CDM replacement, he did something very interesting. He brought on Curtis Jones and Florian Wirtz. Also, he brought on Ekitike for Bradley, and then he moved Szoboszlai from midfield to right back. So at this point, they changed to a 3-3-4 formation when they attacked, with Szoboszlai inverting from right back into central midfield, as you can see in this situation on the screen. So this is a very risky formation, because essentially, Liverpool had decided to play with no natural DM and 6 attacking players on the pitch. But no risk, no reward. So as the game went on, Liverpool were throwing the kitchen sink at Manchester United. They even pushed Kerkez very high into the front line, as you can see here, and created a 3-2-5 formation, playing with 5 attackers to combat Man United's back 5. Eventually, Arne Slot's cheat code, Federico Chiesa, came off the bench to replace Isak, and after a period of pressure where Liverpool were now getting some chances because of the number of attacking players they were playing with, Chiesa provided an assist for Gakpo in the 77th minute to make it 1-1, and it proved that Arne Slot's risky formation had finally worked. Well, at this point, I really thought Liverpool were going to win the game because Amorim, he didn't react to anything Slot had done in the second half. They were still playing their 5-3-2 low block formation, and they were getting slaughtered at the back. If I was Amorim in that situation where Liverpool made all those changes and switched to a 3-3-4 formation, what I would have done is I would have taken off Mason Mount and brought Seshko onto the pitch and then revert back to their natural 3-4-3 formation. Because this formation Liverpool were playing, as we can see on the screen right now, there's a lot of space in the wings, with natural fullbacks or wingbacks who would have been going up and down the pitch. Every time they were on the counter, they would have killed them. But for some reason, Amorim did not react until they conceded that equalizer. Well, thankfully, this was a wake-up call for him because he finally made the change I suggested. And within 7 minutes, guess what? It paid off. From a corner, Liverpool somehow allowed Bruno 2 opportunities uncontested to put balls into the box. The first one, Mbeumo shot and it almost went in, but it was blocked and went back to Bruno. And the second of those crosses, it landed on the magnificently large forehead of Harry Maguire. And the rest, as they say, is history. So looking at the game as a whole, I think 2 key moments lost this game for Arne Slot and Liverpool. The first of those moments was when Gravenberch had to come off injured. So playing this ultra-attacking 3-2-5 formation is what led to their equalizer, honestly. But I don't think Arne Slot should have brought on Curtis Jones. I believe if he had brought on a player like Endo, who would have just sat in front of the defense, this would have provided way more protection from counters, because they had pushed everybody forward. And with Szoboszlai inverting into midfield, he would have rather been able to play a 3-2-1-4 formation. That would have protected them more from counter-attacks. And even after they scored their goal, because they were so open, United kept finding space through their midfield. They kept creating chances, and eventually one of those chances led to the corner, which led to the winning goal. It is very clear that Liverpool are in a very bad moment right now. They are very low on confidence, and after all the money they have spent in the summer, breaking the English transfer record 2 times on Wirtz and Isak, the pressure on Arne Slot is huge. It is massive. I'm already hearing calls from some Liverpool fans that they should sack Slot out and all this nonsense, but my advice would be, please be patient. This man won the league in his first season in English football, and personally I think he deserves at least a season to try and integrate all these new signings and try his formations and everything. And surely he has to get it right at some point, because with all this attacking talent, there's surely something there which can be done. But unfortunately, I don't think Liverpool will be able to win the league this season. At the back, they are too open. And once Gravenberch goes out of that midfield, there's no protection to the backline, which is already weak, with Van Dijk losing all his pace and Konate looking like he doesn't want to play for Liverpool anymore. In January, maybe they could get some defensive players. Maybe they could go back in for McGahey. They could get a right back which actually fits Slot's system to replace Trent Alexander-Arnold. But with the way Arsenal and City are playing right now, by January it might be too late to catch up and their title may already be gone. But let's see what happens. Well, my fellow Tacticals, You've heard me waffle for the last 10 minutes or so, but what do you think lost this game for Liverpool? Was there anything I missed which I didn't cover in this video? Please leave your thoughts below and I'll be happy to read all of them. Don't forget also to leave a like and a subscribe to the channel because we Tacticos, we need to stick together. Well, until next time, keep overthinking football, my friends. We out.